first couple of years only for movies. And then I switched the job and worked 5 years for Ubisoft. So I worked on Assassin's Creed and on the game Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora.
What is a sound that you still cannot get right?
Footsteps.
What? I would say that's interesting.
You know,
Okay.
footsteps is so difficult that you never learn how to do it like perfect. It's still something I'm working on every day to get the right footsteps.
I would have never
That's
thought.
also, you never can call yourself a Foley artist if you can't do footsteps right. If you want to be very good at a thing, then, never stop. Don't give up. Have that vision for yourself that you can do it and understand that it's a lot that it will take from you to achieve it. Don't think everything comes easy to you and you don't have to move a finger for it. But then on the other hand, that is also not a guarantee. I became Muslim when I was 23 years old, and I always took that very seriously. So I was a spiritual person early on in my teens, and then I discovered a couple of things, maybe in the unseen here and there, but it was never really defined. And then once I met some Muslim people, I then discovered how light enters my heart. And then this was really selling the thing to me.
Welcome back, guys, to your favorite podcast, to the KotoDama Podcast. My guest today is Bastian Gerner. He is a Foley artist. He's a content creator. He's also a Foley artist teacher. Guys, you're questioning, maybe you don't even know what a Foley artist is. We're going to find out today. And I'm just so excited to have you here with me today, Bastian. He's also from Germany, and I'm so excited. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. So you are actually in Düsseldorf. We just talked a little bit about it. A fellow German or a fellow person from Germany. And honestly, I found you because I was looking for Foley artists. And for everyone, just before we even start, just explain, please, to everybody, first of all, what is a Foley artist? What do they do?
Foley artist in general recreates sounds in sync to the moving image. So that is in general working for movies and TV shows, but also for video games. So imagine someone is walking, the classic would be like horse shoes, and then we use coconuts and do the horse feet with those coconuts here in the studio on different surfaces. But in general, we do that for the human being. So all the interaction that you see on screen that human beings have, either with themselves just by moving their bodies, or with interacting with other bodies, other humans, or with items of all kind, we kind of make those sounds and recreate them in the studio for many reasons. First reason is to enhance the soundscape and help telling the story further with audio, with sound, but also to make a seamless audio version of the movie in order to sell it internationally. Because when you mute the dialogue, then a lot of sounds get missing or get lost. And then we need all the Foley sounds to fill up the soundscape again, so that you can dub another language on top of the movie, so everything is then still there and audible. All the little sound effects, all the footsteps. We recreate not only footsteps on all different kind of surfaces. So we have grass, hard surface like stone or metal. Then we have pebble stones and sand and whatever you can imagine. And then we do the cloth movement. So all the little, just a sweatshirt or a suit or a leather jacket or a rain jacket and all these kind of differences we also recreate. So all the body motion and all the hand impacts and hand on body, hand on wood plate or hand on table. And then all the other sounds that you can imagine, like a big one is for nowadays the phone. So grabbing the phone from the table and then typing those little sounds and whatever, cutlery and all these sounds, taking a remote control and pressing it. We make all those sounds, recreate them, and then they get mixed into the final mix, either of a video game or a linear media format.
That is so crazy. So everyone who's listening, guys, you have probably seen this before. These, like, everybody's doom scrolling on social media. And I often come across these videos that are of people who Foley artists, and they're basically, you can just see them like rip apart a cabbage, and it sounds like, I think, slicing through a body or something. I don't know, some grotesque thing, but it's just so fascinating. And so first of all, how did you end up in this? How did you even realize you wanted to do this? I have researched a bit about you. I know you come from the music industry, right? So you are into making music, rap music. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I started out as a rapper. I discovered hip hop and rap early on in my teenage years. And then quickly I realized that there are just two things that I'm really interested in doing professionally. That would be either making music as a rapper and producing music and doing this as an artist, or do something with sound engineering. That was the other thing that I was interested in. So I then started interning at different places. First of all, um, event services. So as an event technician, so I went out on big events and helped out building the stages and carrying all the cables. But in the end, I wanted to be the front of house mixer or the monitor mixer for the people on stage and these kind of things. Then I discovered, of course, music production, and I interned at different music studios as an assistant, sound recordist, or whatever. Um, but these things never really took off because my own music was always the priority number one. And if I had to choose between being on stage or being behind a mixing desk and mixing someone else's music, I always chose my own music. And then, yeah, the engineer career, so to speak, didn't really take off. And after maybe 7 years of trying to, push my artist career, I then got married early on because I became Muslim, age 23. And then a couple of weeks later, I met a woman, and then we fell in love and I got married within no time. And that was not planned, both of these things. But then I started to, understand, okay, now I'm married and I have to take more responsibility also for another person, for my wife. And then I thought again, okay, the music thing doesn't work. What else can I try? And as I was living in Potsdam back then, which is close to Berlin, there is a film university in Potsdam, Konrad Wolf, it's very famous, whatever. And I thought, okay, maybe I can study sound for film there, because that is something I haven't looked into. And that's how the whole thing started. So I wanted to study there, prepared myself to apply, failed, and then I wrote emails into the industry, into the movie industry, all over Germany, but mainly focused on Berlin. And then I landed new internships as a boom operator on set. So holding the microphone with the boom pole and trying that. Then working in different sound post-production facilities as an intern. And yeah, that I really liked. So I then knew, okay, this is what I want to do, definitely. So as I wasn't accepted at the university, uh, the way into the industry was actually through an apprenticeship that I did then for 2.5 years at a post-production studio. And there I had great mentors. I could work on real life projects, on real movies. And that's where I basically learned my foundations in audio editing for movies and also mixing. And then after this apprenticeship, I got hired into my first role as a sound designer. And then from there, I climbed up the ladder, became a re-recording mixer, and then eventually a Foley artist after maybe 6, 7 years in. I was a Foley artist then full time. Long story short, that is 10 years ago.
Wow.
So since then, I was then only doing Foley mainly. First
That's
couple of years only for movies, and then I switched the job and worked 5 years for Ubisoft. That's why I moved from Berlin to Düsseldorf. And then in those 5 years, I worked on video games mainly. And then I got some international credits that I was always looking for. So I worked on Assassin's Creed and on the game Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora. And
stop. That's so crazy because I saw that I wanted to ask you actually right now. So it's funny that you just mentioned because I saw that you worked for Ubisoft and for Warner Brothers as well. Is that correct?
Warner Brothers
And
as a client of one of the movies I did, yeah.
okay, but for the gaming industry, that's so cool. I just wanted to ask you, literally, with the movies as well, when you were holding the mics as well. But what kind of projects can you name a few more, like Assassin's Creed? I mean, everybody knows Assassin's Creed. I played Assassin's Creed. Um, the what do you say? Avatar,
Avatar,
right?
yeah.
Any movies or any other things that people might know or something?
From the movie side, there's the German TV thing that I did for a long time. So there's this, you might know it, Tatort, the thing that come that the
Yeah.
movies that come, crime movies, prime time. So that I did a lot. And then from the movies, there's no like really big movie I did in terms of compared to Avatar or Assassin's Creed. I was more working on more independent movies that are running at the film festivals. So lately, I did a movie called American Sweatshop, um, that might people know if they're into cinema. Um, Other than that, most of the movies I did are not really famous. There was 1 month I interned in London, and during this time, I did a couple of bigger movies, but not really credited. So I did Black Gold with Antonio Banderas.
Wait, so you did Black Gold with Antonio? That's so crazy. So as a Foley artist, is that correct?
No, I did just
No.
a little bit of ADR editing. So the voices that get recorded by the actors after the movie was shot, additional voices that they need because they cannot use the original production sound. I did a little bit of editing there on my laptop for this movie while I was in London. And then we did also another movie called Gladiators of Rome. That was an animation movie. I did a little bit of extra sound design for this. And then there was another movie called The Unknown Identity with Liam Neeson. That was actually shot in Berlin. That was my way into this whole internship in London, anyhow. For that movie, I also didn't do a lot, but my voice is actually in this movie because I was sitting in the final mix, and then they were looking for a German voice because that was kind of missing. So there was a hotel worker going down to a car and saying something to the person sitting in the taxi, and they were looking for like one sentence in German something. So then my mentor that invited me for that internship said, "Yeah, I have a German person here." So then I went up into another studio, recorded one sentence, and then they mixed it into the movie right away because there was the final mix. So yeah, that was the more bigger names of movies I did. Um,
That's
yeah,
wonderful. And I think the cool thing about it is, I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's famous or not. I mean, a lot of these projects I think are large and it's impressive and very, very cool. And I'm just thinking because all of these things in video production, all of the things that go behind it, right? We as a viewer of a movie, you just see the end product. So you just I guess you're just focusing as a normal person. I don't know. I don't know if I'm normal, but I focus on the actors. I focus on the music sometimes a little bit. You know, things like Foley artists, like I guess what's it called? Like the sounds that are not coming out of the mouth of the actors is just something that you just kind of, you never consciously pick that up, I think, if you don't really think about it.
yeah,
And so
but that's the
I
whole point.
literally, yeah, because I know about Foley artists because I think it's an interesting job. So I have looked a little bit into it, but even I watch a movie, I will immediately forget. So, but this is your job, right? You want them to think it's real because I always think it's real. Whatever is happening there, I forget that it's not real. I mean, the sound effects, I always think that's probably their steps, but it makes no sense, right? I mean, it makes no sense that it's their real steps because a mic cannot pick that up in that moment, right? Or am I like, how does that work? But how
It
do you do
could
that?
potentially, but they on the when they shoot a movie, they focus way more on the dialogue so that they get the dialogue as clean as possible because that's the hardest thing to recreate, the actor's performance in that moment. And therefore they try to strip away all the other sounds. So if an actor walks with high heels, for example. They try to lay carpet on the floor if the camera is not focusing on the floor, or they just put rubber underneath the shoes so the impact gets, not as loud as it would be normally, so that they can always focus mainly on the voice and capture the performance of the actors. And therefore, we have to add all the other sounds later on. Maybe during the shoot, if they have a second unit sound utility department, some people on set, they might record some room tones of the, of the places, or if they have a special vehicle, maybe they take out the vehicle into the desert and then record some specific sounds of that vehicle extra for the movie. But yeah, in general, we focus on the dialogue during the shoot, and then we add on all the other sounds later on.
That makes sense because you can, Turkish TV shows, actually, they do that sometimes where they dub everything later. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like, it looks stupid. So I understand why people would want the real sound, right? But what's the difference for you? How do you feel working in films as a Foley artist and then working in games more now? I guess you work more on games now, right? Like, how do you feel? What do you like more and why?
So everyone thinks I'm working more on games these days after I quit Ubisoft. All the big credits that I have now are for those big games. However, when I then built my own studio and now work freelance, self-employed, the main thing that I do is I went back to the movies and to the TV shows, because getting freelance gigs in video games is really a long-term acquisition game, and I haven't managed yet to get those contacts and get those clients to really work more on video games than I can do on movies right now. So my main focus today is back to the movies, back to linear media, and sometimes do a little bit of game audio here and there. But I'm working heavily on getting the games back into my life, because working on those big projects is completely different, because it's a long-term effort. So for example, on Ubisoft Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, I almost worked 4 years on one game. Maybe not
Wow.
all the time, 8 hours every day, but over a period of 4 years, I worked on it almost every day. And yeah, so that's very different from working on a movie, where you, as a Foley artist for a TV movie, I only have 3 to 4 days. And if it's a cinema movie, maybe up to 10 days that I can work on one project. And therefore, it's completely different way of working, and also a completely different approach, because imagine we have sound effects for movies for over 100 years now, since the first movie was released with sound, and since then this industry evolved, and the whole thing evolved into what we have now. So there's a long tradition going back with Foley for movies, for example, and therefore everything is kind of defined. So people know how a footstep should sound in a movie. They know how the gunshots sound, or there's certain things that, for example, fight scenes, when you have all those impacts in your face and into the body, and all these kind of sounds, how it slaps in your face. That is all predefined by the last 100 years. And now we have to kind of follow those listening habits of people and stick to that. And also, there were so many years of people doing this that they can now define how long does it average take a professional Foley artist to finish that project. And therefore also the budgets are very defined, so you cannot really
Yeah.
negotiate a whole bunch. So everything is pretty defined, and everyone knows what's what in Foley for film. And therefore you have to deliver on a specific standard in a specific timeline if you want to actually earn money with this. So it's a long way to establish yourself as a Foley artist in general. But for movies, you have to be really, really good. You have to be really experienced, because otherwise you cannot fit in that predefined measures. You cannot finish a project in 3 days and earn money with this and deliver on that quality level if you haven't worked on it for years. So you have a long way up to that point where you can actually make decent money with it and call yourself a Foley artist. And for example, in France, you need actually 10 years of being an assistant until they would allow you to call yourself a Foley artist. And
What? This is like shocking to me because obviously, sorry for my ignorance, because I thought there's not many out there, so they must be sought after. But is this like actually something that like, like when they create the perfumes and then I think they call them nose, like people, the noses or people who, I don't know, who create perfumes, but it's like such a secret society. So I thought it's more like that, but in a good way for you guys. So I thought if you're a Foley artist, you always have jobs because I don't know any
yeah,
Foley artist.
okay.
I've never met anyone. So it's
That's
different.
that's kind of true. I mean, if you are a good Foley artist, renowned in the industry, you might always have a little bit of work here and there. As I just said, the industries are struggling right now. That's true for movies and for games. So I think it's hard for everyone these days. Maybe as a Foley artist, we are a bit lucky. As you said, there are not many of us. And that is always or often a thing that production houses that do a lot of sound design in-house all still outsource to, third-party vendors. So in my case, I'm a third party vendor with my own studio, and then people call me and want my service, which is maybe not true for someone who's cutting dialogue or who's doing sound design. So those jobs are getting rarer and rarer. And also, I can see this in my own business that, for example, all my German clients that I had last year didn't book me once this year. And therefore, for example, my whole content creation that I do on Instagram and on LinkedIn really helped me to get new clients that are coming from different countries. And to come back to your original question, there are not many Foley artists, and depending on the country, it's hard or even harder to become a Foley artist. And for example, in Canada, maybe they have A, B, and C category Foley artists. So the C category Foley artists, they cover all the daily TV shows and the lower production end of things. Then you have the B uh, category Foley artists that's doing maybe Netflix shows and TV movies. And then you have the A-list Foley artists that do the big blockbuster Hollywood co-production movies and these kind of things. And the big shows on Netflix or big movies. And in
Interesting.
France,
And
for example, there's also a huge tradition for Foley. There it is more like you have a couple of families that pass on to their children in the third or fourth generation already. So it's very hard to work either on French movies as a not French person. And then even if you're French, it's hard to get into it if you're not born into one of those families.
what the hell? This generational Foley? I'm confused. This is so interesting. This is like in German we have this like Einblick in die Welt, what's it called in English? Like this is such an amazing like little sneak peek, or
Glimpse.
I don't know, like
Yeah.
into your world. It's fascinating because I'm thinking how many people are working on if it's a big blockbuster, is it like many people, many Foley artists, or how does that
No,
work?
no. So in general, imagine with a normal movie not produced in the USA, you have maybe one Foley artist and one person who is recording. And then with bigger productions, sometimes there are two Foley artists that work in a team together. And then a recordist and maybe even another person that sits in the studio and is also mixing the different microphones. And then maybe you have even an assistant, but I don't know teams bigger than 5 people working on Foley in one studio together.
Wonderful. I mean, that's kind of what, yeah, I can see that. And for example, can you give us, that's just out of the blue. You probably can't because you have, maybe if you have nothing with you right now, but if you have anything, can you give us a little sound or something? Like anything? What will you do? Or what can you do actually with your hands just without anything? Can you give us a little something?
I'm not sure if the recording tool allows us to record anything else than voice. For example, if I do this, do you hear this?
Ah. Yeah, I can hear it, but you mean it could be actually later that my AI will cut it out. Yeah, actually, it could be.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you can hear it now, it's good, but sometimes it all gets canceled out because it only recognizes the voice. So let's say with my hands, I can do, for example, handshakes. Yeah, or the hand claps is also a classic that we always recorded the hand claps. And then sometimes if you have a lot of people, like a huge crowd, I then not only do those hand claps for the main characters on screen, I also do like a little mass kind of track that I'm using my hands like this, and make some additional claps, for the
Yeah.
background. In order to, be quicker, I do this to get more people at the same time. And then we do all the face touches. For example, if someone just makes like this, or with your hair, I would then go ahead and just use my hand. As I have personally relatively dry skin, I can do loud noises, with my hand just like that. Or if
Yeah.
someone goes through their hair, I usually don't do this because then I lose when I have headphones on and I do this, I lose the complete control of what I'm doing. And also
Yeah.
maybe I have to then, if I have longer hair, I would then do this or something, but I then cannot see the screen, so I cannot perform in sync to the image, right?
No.
So then I would rather just use my arm with the hair here and record it in a way that it actually sounds like you would, go through your head and your hair. I would do this then maybe, and then I make all these little sounds with everyone that's shaking hands or just little touch on the hand or body hits, body impacts, all these things that I just do with my hands and my body.
That's so cool. So actually, you can do quite a lot, right? Without actually any props. I'm wondering, SpongeBob, and when SpongeBob walks, it's like a choop choop. I don't even know how to do it, but do you know what that is? Like, I don't know. It just came into. It's a stupid question. You
No,
probably don't know. Okay,
no, I don't
but
know.
I wonder, like, because right, it's like some sounds you just need. I guess someone just made that up, right? Do you sometimes sit there and you don't know, like, of course, now you talked about how Foley has now a history, and now people know how to create most sounds, and probably you guys learn it. There's probably some standards, but in general, it's an art, right? So are you actually kind of artistically free to express yourself, or are there scenes where you have to improvise of some or a sound that you've never made before? How do you deal with that? How does that work?
So I think what you said is correct. So there's a history and there are certain ways how things are being expected to sound. But how you get there is actually, you're completely free. There's no rules, and everything is kind of being in the flow state and being creative and improvising. So as I'm a freestyle rapper as well, I'm very used to this kind of part of my brain where I'm improvising the words. So I'm also using this creativity when I'm doing the Foley. So there are two aspects to this. The first aspect is, for example, I have to come up with a sound, and then I have to use my creative brain just to, get something, get an inspiration, like what comes to me. That is not a conscious thing that I'm going through a list. It's more like waiting for something to arrive, an inspiration to arrive. And that is then connected to something I know from my experience. So then I'm going, okay, I grab this object now to get this sound. That's the one part of the creativity. And The other part
Wow.
is when it comes to the actual performance. So I now chose something from that creative moment. I have a couple of objects in my hand, maybe attached to a surface, and I'm then trying to come up with a sound that is in my head. And then I make a little sound check. Okay, now I know this kind of works. And then we go into the recording mode and perform the thing into the movie, right? And then sometimes, or almost every time, something happens during that performance that I didn't plan. And then something else comes from that moment that was also part of the improvisation and part of something that I cannot control. And then the sound actually happens and works even better often that I could imagine myself, you know? So there are always these moments where something goes wrong, and that's actually the magic that makes the scene work.
Oh my God, Bastian, this is like something. Okay, see how I will, it's funny. In my own mind, I always laugh a little bit about myself, how I can turn any conversation into a spiritual conversation. I have that gift. I can do that. I'm going to go there right now because what you talk about when being in the flow state, I obviously experienced that before. I believe everyone has experienced that before in some form. And hopefully, the most blessed people have a job that, allows them to be in the flow state. Because I think what's happening there, I don't know how you feel about that, but I think what's happening there is channeling. Like I channel it. Like I don't feel like it's me necessarily. Like it is me, but it's not like I'm thinking up something logically when I'm in the state. So, I'm talking about music, or I'm talking for me right now. I am now in the flow state, right? Like I have my phone on the table right now and I've prepared so many questions and I'm not looking at it right now because I'm in the flow state. So I get these like ideas and they just come. Do you also feel like it's like a spiritual experience for you? And yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, 100%. You know, as you mentioned, I became Muslim when I was 23 years old. That's now 19 years ago. And I always took that very seriously. So I was a spiritual person early on in my teens. And then I discovered a couple of things, maybe in the unseen here and there, but it was never really defined. And then once I met some Muslim people, I then discovered how light enters my heart, let's say. And then this was really selling the thing to me. So I thought, okay, if that's the real deal with my heart, and then I have to pray 5 times, don't eat pork, marry women and not having relationships with them before, and do all the necessary things, okay, a done deal, no problem. If I can get that level of spirituality in my heart, um, then I did that and I followed it since then. So for almost 20 years. So I'm doing the prayer 5 times a day. I'm dedicating everything that I do to the, higher power that created me. So I have a whole understanding of the world and what my place is in this world. So actually, every action that we do is being kind of channeled from the source. And therefore, everything we are is not like we don't really exist, from a very, very spiritual point of view, because
Yes.
we only exist because the creator wanted us to be in existence. He could have also chosen for us not to exist. So everything that we believe is coming from us or we experience as a human being is actually a manifestation of the
Divine.
universal divine will that it actually happens in that moment. And we are just a meaning of what God actually intends in that moment to happen. And therefore 100%, I'm dedicating. I try to always be in the presence of um, being a slave of God, and therefore everything I do, I try to dedicate to Him. So I also try to avoid things that I cannot really do for God. So therefore, often, like almost every time before I start a performance, before we start and hit record, I say Bismillah. So in the name of God. So and then if I say something like to my mixer, yeah, I definitely can do this, no problem. Then we record and it goes wrong, So, and then I realized, okay, wait a second, it's not me that is actually doing it. It's like God is allowing me to do this. And when I say Bismillah, I'm on the safe side, you know?
I see, yeah, and I think that's so interesting, and I feel like, you know, obviously I come from a Muslim family. I am not actually Muslim anymore, but I do respect every religion and every human, and I love the way you talk about it. I think you are a truly spiritual person in that sense, and I think I love hearing people talk about this because, you know, people might not see the connection there. You know, how do you find your faith or your belief or your spirituality in such a thing as art or in Foley art even, you know, because it's so specific and it's so tangible, it's so physical. But I often find that the most physical things for me, sometimes I have the most spiritual experiences in the most physical experiences. You know, I mean, I do meditation and, you know, people do, you know, prayer, meditation, all these like things that are specifically a spiritual practice. But I find myself sometimes in everyday things, honestly, looking at a flower, hugging someone I love, uh, having a puppy on my lap. I mean, I can go on and on. Like I can have moments of bliss, and for me, bliss and the way you talked about light entering your heart, that's love to me. That is bliss, and bliss for me is a spiritual experience. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but do you feel like, I mean, it sounds like you dedicate your whole life to this as well. And do you feel that way too? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that is of beauty is from the one who is the beautiful and who owns everything that is beautiful. So everything that is a positive thing in our life is actually a gift, as every moment in our life is a gift. And therefore, I experience that all the time. It's just how fine-tuned, you know, is my whole system in the moment. So can I actually receive it or not? Sometimes it's higher up, sometimes it's not as receptive, and therefore I have that all the like ideally all the time. You know, I always want to be connected to the divine and feel the love, that light in my heart, and understand who I really am, you know. And
And that's so cool that you can do that as well now with your job, right? And so you, sorry, just to go back now to your job, but you do, basically, you're not just a Foley artist, you're also a Foley artist, a Foley teacher. So you're teaching as well. You have your own studio, you do content creation, quite large. I didn't even know that, by the way. I just knew that literally 5 minutes before recording. I discovered your Instagram. You have a large following over there. You do so many things. You do freestyle rapping. I mean, that's
Mhm.
literally channeling. Tell me about the freestyle rapping. How does that, what kind of rap is that? And how do you do that?
It's German rap, definitely, you know, because that's my mother tongue, and I just genuinely love this, and I discovered it as a teenager. So I'm practicing it also now for over 25 years. And maybe you know the guy Harry Mack. He's maybe 10 years younger than me, but he actually really perfected the art of freestyle rapping, and he has a huge channel, a couple of million followers on YouTube. So this guy is explaining it with what he does. And if I would not be a Foley artist and a Foley teacher and make my money with this, I would love to be something like Harry Mack. Yeah, just to give a little like tangible, you know, thing for people to look up. And I even tried to come up with some similar content like Harry Mack, going out to the people on the streets, asking them for a couple of random words, and then trying to make a song out of those words on the spot. And yeah, I'm simply not as well practiced as he is. So my standard, you know, is pretty high. So I always compete with the best of the best in what I do. And this guy, actually, I love him because he perfected this freestyle rapping thing to a level where I think no one could ever imagine that it is possible. So, you know, seeing him is just reinforcing this love for the whole thing to me. I don't see this as competition, but I always want them to be as good as him, you know? And that's also
Yeah.
my thing for Foley artistry or the sound design for movies. You know, I really work hard to be part of the elite in what I do. And I actually managed to do it in Foley. I never really got to the top of the music industry or whatever, but I managed to do it in the movies and in the video games. So I'm thankful for that, and I can help people with it. Now teaching it, so the teaching comes naturally to me. And then when I started my own business, I thought, okay, it's obvious I have to do content around it, otherwise my business will not really take off. So that was clear. And I then came up with this name, the Foley teacher. I produced content every day, and then the whole thing took off. Yeah.
That's amazing. By the way, just about the music industry, I think it might be a gift that you're not one of the elites in the music industry, if you know what I mean.
Maybe, yeah,
Wink,
it's
wink, wink.
also,
Yeah.
yeah,
I really, but can I ask you about the being like the best, like being in the elite or being one of the best? Why do you want that? I'm not
it's
judging.
something
I'm
that
just
is
interested.
that's something within me, when I discover something that I like doing, and then I try to do it, and it actually works, and I see, okay, I have a talent for this. Um, then I have to go all in, and I have to get to the people I look up to. There are certain people that are, when you start out, you're not the best of the best, right? So, but you have other people that are, and there you can get a reference and you can learn from them and you can understand what's the technique, let's say for Foley or for sound design or for rapping, just listen to some genuine rap or listen to Harry Mack and then try to do it. And if you never did it, you will like totally fail. But if you like go on and practice and find your own thing, you can maybe get to your own kind of level. And if you have the talent and the dedication and you put in the hours and you never stop, you might get to your own level of excellence. And maybe that can then keep up with other people that are on the top. And
I love that. Sorry, go on.
yeah, I mean, there's one thing, for example, that I also love, but I don't have the ambition to be in the elite of this. So that's for example swimming. Yeah. So I grew up in a swim club and I did competitions, but I never trained as much as the world elite. So if you want to be a world elite swimmer, you have to be in the pool twice a day. I only practiced my whole life twice to three times a week. Yeah. So I cannot expect to be an Olympic swimmer if I don't practice twice a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm.
don't can expect to compete with Harry Mack if I'm not rapping 6 to 8 hours per day, right?
Wow, that's a lot of time to rap. That's
Yeah, but
that mean
that's what
he
he
must
does,
love it.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and but I love also the Foley and I love the sound design, and I dedicated my last 15 years of my life and worked every day 8 hours, 10 hours on movies and games. And here we are, it takes 10 years, 15 years, and now I'm really a master in what I do, and I still learn every day, and I have still people that I look up to, you know?
That's so beautiful. I think the learning never stops. And, for me now as well, being on this podcasting journey, sorry, I do make everything about myself, but I'm
No,
really
not
like,
at all.
yeah, like I'm applying what you're saying to my own experience because I can relate, even though I'm not a Foley artist. And I think it's very inspiring how you talk about, becoming better. And like, that's one thing. And, you're successful at your craft. So this is why I want to ask you how you think about this. But a lot of successful people, I think every successful person says, don't give up. Like, do you think that one thing that sets successful people apart is just the dedication? Because sometimes I'm questioning, is it a gift or is it just a skill that they've really practiced and practiced? Is it both? What do you think about this?
This is a huge question, and I think there's so much content around it, people that are successful being interviewed ask those questions, and I listen to a lot of those answers as well. My own answer is everything is a gift, and if you want to become good at something, you have to invest yourself, and then that is also a gift. So sometimes, for example, with money, yeah, okay, I'm successful as a Foley artist. I worked on big projects. There's still way to go. So, sky is the limit. But okay, what is success now? Am I successful because I can do it as a living? I can do it every day. There are projects coming to me. Is it a success because I love doing it, so I have this pleasure every day, or is it a success because I earn 100K per year with it? Or is that not enough to call it successful these days? Do you have to be a billionaire? So what is success? And if you want to be very good at a thing and that is success, then, yeah, never stop. Don't give up. Have that vision for yourself that you can do it, and understand that it's a lot that it will take from you to achieve it. Don't think everything comes easy to you and you don't have to move a finger for it. But then on the other hand, that is also not a guarantee, because if it was a guarantee from God, that everyone who dedicates with hard work gets that success, it would be a no-brainer, and everyone could then also say, like, request it from God. So do you have that, then the guarantee, so the claim, so if you're not getting it, you can you can you can protest against God, but that's not how we are created. So we are created as slaves. So we submit to God, and we're not allowed to even criticize God in any way. So if you understand that, the success lies in the submission and to accept what God, wants to give you, and to be thankful for that, and to find out what's the purpose that you have been created for and with. And the true success will be that if you are in line and aligned with the divine will for you, that because there's a reason why everyone is created. So that for me is the true success. And then let me finish this. You have people they are really rich, but they never lifted a finger for it. So Allah wanted that wealth for those people, and then if they are happy with it or not is another thing. So where's the success? You know, Success is only if you are in line with your with the divine
Calling?
purpose. Yeah, the calling that you have from God, and
Yeah. And how
that's
do
true
you
success.
Yeah, yeah. And I love this conversation because I always think, what even is success? Same thing. I see you're a philosopher at heart, Bastian. I can really feel that coming through. You are a thinker, you're a feeler. Because I often think that too. What even is success? You know, is success money? Maybe, if for society. Is it for you? What does that mean? Is success being in a happy relationship? Is success having a child? Is success being happy? I don't know. So for me, often I think success is it defined in each moment for each thing. So I define my own success, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And it sounds a bit like you see it again as a spiritual thing and a calling, and being one with that divine calling. And what I want to ask you there is, how do you know that you're I have an idea listening to you, but how do you know that you are on that path of the divine calling, and that you are basically also, for people who are listening, because a lot of my viewers are quite young as well. And I think, a lot of people are kind of lost and they don't know what they want to do in life, not even spiritually, just like physically, they don't know what they want to do. So how can people know that they are on the right path, in your opinion?
Personally, I ask myself this every day, and I hope that I can feel it within myself, through the divine guidance. So I have my heart as a living organ. So from our Muslim perspective, this is only possible if you submit and surrender to God and obey. Then there is an opportunity for your heart to be alive. And then with this being alive, I am connected to myself and to the divine through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So the the fact that I can do my 5 prayers, the fact that I have a certain understanding and a certain knowledge about God that is also reflecting in my heart, that is that is the biggest gift that I have in my life. So now to do something with this, I ask myself, yeah, okay, where can I be of the most use? Where can I be the most useful for other people? That is also a hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that the best of you is the one that has the most use for the others. In my poor English now. Um, that is a question I ask myself. For example, like, okay, being a Foley artist, being a Foley teacher, I'm helping a lot of people to get an understanding of what Foley is, and maybe even to that they can use what I teach them in their daily life as sound designers. And maybe some of them will become a Foley artist later on with the stuff that I taught. And then also opening up that secret world of Foley through my content is maybe very useful to the world in that specific niche. Yeah. So if you ask myself, like Bastian, not the slave, but the person that grew up in Germany and has a certain idea of himself, which is totally not what we should think of ourselves, because that's exactly the trap. If you start thinking of this is how I am, then you cannot have a view onto who you really are, because you are just that what Allah wants and nothing else. And everything that you think you are is an illusion. So now,
Mm, mm.
where does that leave me? Yeah, I want to be the Bastian freestyle rapper, and I want to make money with this, and I only want to do freestyle rapping, and I want to rap on big stages and have my own band back and tour the world, whatever, or make a big YouTube channel and make whatever millions of views and a lot of money with it. And that is maybe what I want, but it's not happening. I'm not sitting in my studio producing music every day. I'm not doing the content for the rap channel that I have, by the way, but it's not active.
Mm.
So what I'm actually doing is Foley, is talking to you about Foley and spirituality, is working with my friend from Berlin who's came from Berlin to work with me in Düsseldorf today on a movie. And then tomorrow I will drive to Berlin and work on another movie in Berlin. And you know, that is what I'm actually doing, and that is what God allows me.
Yeah.
Although I maybe want these other things more, but I'm
So you're
happy and I'm content with this. And maybe there will be a time where God allows me to be that rapper. And still I'm doing it while I'm in the car and, but more for myself. I don't have the time to make a business out of it, you know?
It's so interesting because you're talking kind of about non-duality, about like the illusion of the physical world. And at the same time, you're talking about um, your own action. You know that you have a power in this life and that you have a free will and that you're choosing to do things that you kind of want to do. But at the same time, you don't get hung up on, oh, it didn't happen for me. Like now I fall into a depression and I'm never supposed to do this. You kind of go with the flow is what I'm trying to say. Like you have a goal and you do what you want to do and you have fun doing it. And at the same time, you let go. You don't put this pressure on it because you kind of also believe in the fate of, and your destiny kind of from, the godly destiny that your life is also led by God. So I think that's so interesting because you seem quite peaceful in it because, a
Yeah.
lot of people in everyday life, they want something. Okay. Like even if it's not a religious or a spiritual conversation, people want something. And let's say there's a woman and she wants to get married and it's something that she truly wants and it's just not happening. Okay. And then she's just really falling. I really see this often, by the way. This is something I see a lot with my girlfriends, right? Or people I know. People want to get married, and let's say she really wants it and it's not happening. And then she kind of falls into this, obviously, and I understand it, in this negative thinking of maybe I'm never supposed to be married. Maybe it's not my thing. It might be, but what might also be is just that the timing is not right. And, you can still get married I know people don't want this, but let's say you get married at 60, but you're so happy and you found your person and this is what you always wanted. Then was it bad that it happened at 60 or was it the divine timing? Was it how it was maybe supposed to be? But I feel like people really hang themselves up on this. They get hung up on this thing of like, I want this and I want it now. you know? And I get it. Like, I'm human. I have this every day. I'm like, I want it and I want it now, you know? But I also remind myself, okay, like, let go of the pressure, you know? Let it kind of flow. You know, we say in, you know, some people say like the path of least resistance, you know, just kind of flow with it as well. So it sounds a bit like you're talking about that too. And it's, I can tell you're peaceful. You're at peace with this. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for summarizing it that way and giving me that reflection back. I think, yeah, you're right. The zeitgeist, people want everything now, but they don't want to invest and they don't want to put in the work for it. And for myself, I'm definitely at peace with it. But why? Why? Because I understand where my position as a human being is in this world. And I made my peace with that I have to submit to the divine creator only being that is actually powerful. And I don't have any power. And I'm the least person, the least creation that can complain in any way. So if you understand that your position in this world is slavehood. It's not just you're a servant to God, you're a slave. He owns you. If you understand that, I cannot, my house cannot complain when I sell it, when I own it. I cannot also complain to my landlord if she decides to sell the house and I'm the tenant. She can do whatever she wants. It's her house, right? So if you understand that you are in ownership of the only creature, the only being that owns everything and that was there before anything and that will last longer than anything and that has a clear definition of being the one and only power that exists. So you have no power, you have nothing, you came from nothing, and now you are here. Then you understand there is nothing to complain about. You can complain to him about the things that you are, sorrows, but you cannot, you cannot, I don't know, claim anything or like say no, it's your fault or whatever. Like, that's not our position. And if you understand that, you get at peace. Your heart starts to calm down because you understand where your place is, and then God doesn't want you to be crushed by his power, you know? If he would, for example, imagine the prophet Musa alayhi salam, Moses. He wanted to see God, and then God showed a little bit of himself to the mountain, and the mountain crushed, you know? So we as human beings, he's so gentle with us because he allows us to get that access in our heart, in our soul, because the soul is from him actually. And therefore we have that unique position in the world to be a slave, but to be very high up in the rankings of creation because we can get so close to Allah. And that is the bliss and that is the calmness and that is the acceptance and the surrendering. So whatever happens, we are content as long as it is coming from him. Full stop. You know.
Yes, yes, yes. I understand. Yeah.
There's one thing that you've asked me that I didn't answer about the
Come
Foley.
on.
So the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
was,
yeah.
if I enjoy video games more than I do enjoy the movies,
Yeah.
and the answer is I love both, and I love the craft behind the movies a little bit more, but I love the openness of the video games world. I love that there's no rules, there are no set expectations, there's way more room for creativity, um, and more time and more budget and more space to explore. But I also
Yeah.
love the craft of working on a linear movie and just doing the things that I really train hard to do and to get that into a really high level of perfection. I love that.
Yes.
But I also love the openness of the video games and that people are a bit, more relaxed and still you have to come up with great results, but you don't have the time pressure and everything is so compressed and so predefined.
Yeah, I can see that because I used to be a gamer. Right now, I'm not. It takes too much time. I also don't watch many movies, actually. I'm not much of a consumer of like of that stuff. Even music lately, I'm not really. It's weird. I'm kind of disconnected. Like since I started creating, this, I'm consuming less.
Mm.
It's crazy.
That's good. That's good. That's be more on the active side than on the receiving side. And there's another thing that I can just finish maybe with our whole conversation,
Yes.
because you said, what you actually do. Is it a thing that you're supposed to do, and how can you find out, and what is
Mm.
success, and all these things. So, for example, I want to expand my business in a way that I'm not only relying on the service that I provide as a Foley artist working on other people's projects. I also want to use my social media to build an online business that actually gets fueled by my teaching. Just for example. Now I understand this doesn't come from just saying I want this, you know? So I
Yeah.
started to do the content every day. I started to build channels. I started to define what my brand, the Foley teacher, is standing for. I provide free knowledge. I provide free resources for people
Mm, mm,
to
mm,
build
mm.
trust with me. And now the next step is to get people into my private membership and into buying my online courses, and find ways how to smartly, put the business together and connect all my followers with the products that I genuinely love and I think are of service to those people. Um, and if I and now I kind of stopped doing this for a while, just for private reasons. I, for example, got married, which is really a great thing in my life. I'm really thankful for that. But this actually took so much time that I willingly stopped putting as much effort into my business as I did before. So now I see the decline of progress within it, but and that's the hard part, if you not
Mm.
keep doing things, there will be a decline. If you're not remembering God every day, then you might forget him more and more, and your whole spirituality will also shrink. And
Mm.
therefore, if you don't keep up with the things, then maybe things get lost. But
Yeah, it's
still,
like
still the divine can give you things anyhow.
yeah.
That's another side of the coin, but we have to do things in order to get somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like commitment. I call it commitment, like putting energy into something. Could be anything, a relationship, you should, if you want something and you love someone or you love a job or something, you should put energy into it, right? But yeah, it's understandable. Sometimes you're more busy. I just the question came back to me. It just
All right.
came back to me because it is actually what I wanted to say is I hear from people that again are considered very successful. They often say you should be of service. And I mean now, not just the spiritual side of it, but of service to people. So when we talk about business as well, what service are you providing that you can actually charge for? There must be a value, like an exchange of service, and someone is getting the money and someone is getting the service, someone is getting the product. So I I'm also thinking about that lately a lot, right? Since I'm doing this now, and you just connected it there beautifully with your own service as a teacher, and also your product, your business as a Foley artist. You are kind of, and this is what I'm realizing lately as well, is if you do what you love doing and what you're here to do, which for me, I feel like I always know when I'm feeling bliss. I always know, okay, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do right now. It doesn't have to be forever, but this is what I'm supposed to do right now. And so I feel like you cannot be in the flow and do something that you love without being of service. I realize that because whatever it is that you do, if you truly enjoy it, someone will get something from it at the same time. It's kind of like your cup is overflowing with love, right? If you love yourself a lot, or if you love your, I don't know, if you love what you do, I feel like it flows over to other people, and it kind of just creates being of service to people. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
I think so. Yeah, of course. If something overflows, and then yeah, other people can maybe profit from that. And think the best for me personally, I think it's those two things, to be of service to others, and to dedicate it towards the Most High. And you
Yeah.
also say on the other side, you cannot only thank God, you always have to also thank the people who do things for you. You know, if you don't thank the people, you cannot be thankful to God. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and you said about, this is so interesting. I had a conversation with someone about this. I want to say this because of the free stuff that you mentioned. So some people are like, you should never give away anything for free. And I'm like, no, you should absolutely do it. Because how are people supposed to? I mean, from a marketing perspective, apparently someone has to see you like 7 times for them to want to buy something from you or something. Like, I don't know what that statistic is. You guys can look it up. I'm probably messing it up right now. But I'm thinking, why wouldn't you give something away? Like, especially if you want to make money with it, And like, if I love a YouTuber, if I love a content creator, and they give me a lot of free value, whatever that means, why wouldn't I pay them for something that I want from them? Like, it just makes sense to me. Do you feel that way with your business, like with your content creation?
Yeah, I want that. I understand it and I want it and I work hard to achieve it. Definitely. There's a whole system to the whole thing. If you create a free valuable content, attach a freebie to it, so a free product that people can then get from you through giving you their email address or to open up a conversation with them on Instagram DMs or whatever that is, then you can ask them, what is your actual problem that you have right now? And you ask them only for problems that you have a product that gives a solution. And then they can answer. And if there is something that matches, they can then tell you, yeah, I have this problem. And then you can tell them, look, I have this low price product for under $100. If you want to purchase that, maybe it gives the solution to your problem. And then you have a kind of a graph, that let's say this is the money and that is the attention, the time or the access to you as a person. So with a low cost product, the price is low, but the access to you as a person is also relatively low. It's maybe just an online course that people can watch in their own time. And if the investment goes up, the accessibility to you as a person goes up. So the biggest product that I have is my online community where I have like regular meetings with people on Zoom, and maybe we have a physical meetup in my studio, and that is way more expensive than my little online course.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think even I never thought about it this strategically. You explained it very well. Because this is exactly what almost every business owner does, or every teacher kind of does, right? Like the more exclusive, obviously the one-on-one teachings, or those are obviously more expensive. They take more time and more accessibility to you. You explained that very well. Thank you. Oh my God,
My
I learned
pleasure.
so much today. Bastian, this was an amazing conversation. I'm like, when I'm in the flow, I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel like the time goes so quickly, and it's just genuinely, I don't even believe in linear time. I don't think time is real, but I think this is why you look so young, by the way, because you're probably so much in your flow state that time for you just flies, and you just actually are probably still 23 years old. Nobody can prove me wrong on this because nobody knows what time is. But it was wonderful to talk to you, Bastian. Thank you so much for being my guest. Before we end, though, I have a rapid fire round,
All
which
right.
is just a few quick questions, and you just answer really quickly without thinking much.
Okay. Bismillah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
What is the best book or piece of media that you think aspiring Foley artists should read or consume? Your content, probably.
The art, yeah, the art of learning
The
from
Art of Learning
Josh Waitzkin.
is a book.
Mhm. Yeah, it's about cross learning. He references his chess career and his career in martial arts and makes a system out of it, how you can actually be becoming the elite of something.
Wow, I love that. What's a sound in everyday life that inspires you, that you like, that's not
Footsteps.
music?
A footstep. A footstep.
You know, there's footstep ASMR. My partner loves that. He likes men's leather shoes on the ground, like click click click. Like he watches that to calm down. What is a sound that you still cannot get right? You feel like you can't get it right.
Footsteps.
What? I would say that's interesting.
You know,
Okay.
footsteps is so difficult that you never learn how to do it like perfect. It's still something I'm working on every day to get the right footsteps.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And
I would have never
that's
thought that.
also you never can call yourself a Foley artist if you can't do footsteps right.
You actually need an ASMR channel as well. I don't know if you have that, but you could actually with that.
I should, yeah, I should.
Yeah, people make a lot of money with that. And then my last question is, if you were not doing Foley, what would you be doing?
Whatever Allah wants me to do.
Okay, I love that. Thank you so much, Bastian. This was wonderful. You're such a passionate, interesting, spiritual, kind, inspiring person. This was a super, super interesting conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm in the middle of a production right now, and we, made a long break with my colleague who's actually waiting out in the house at the house for me to finish this. But still, I really enjoyed that I decided to do it today because now I'm feeling a lot of positive, energy in my heart and a lot of light and positivity. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Bastian. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.